Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Mental Health NOFO Bidders Conference. I'm Mackenzie Montgomery. I am the Director for Student Success here at the ICCB and will be kind of the facilitator and the keeper of the grant. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and share my screen and bear with me. I just got back from vacation, so I might have left a few brain cells on island time. Is that full? Can everybody see full screen?
We are, I am, so I assume everyone else is.
All right, just want to make sure because mine looks a little bit different. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go through this. I don't want to keep everybody. I know you're busy on a Tuesday, but we will go ahead and get started. So during the quick presentation, please put any questions in the chat. Dina's going to kind of be facilitating and collecting those, and we will put all questions in an FAQ. We'll try not to answer too many questions during the meeting because a lot of them can be specific to institutions. However, if you do have some, please put them in the chat. We'll collect them and we will create an FAQ that will go on the grants opportunity page. If you do have any other questions or something very specific to your institution, you can email me. My email's right there, mackenzie.montgomery@illinois.gov. But like I said, we'll do a FAQ and post it to the grant page. And I will send this presentation and recording out to the CSSOs and the mental health contacts at each institution. So the purpose of the grant is designed to assist and support colleges in scaling equitable, evidence-based mental health supports based on the mental health early action on campus requirements. So all community colleges in the state of Illinois are invited to submit a proposal under the NOFO, which you guys have received. This PowerPoint is kind of going to go through the NOFO to clarify any questions or thoughts that you may have had. The funding is up to $150,000. So if you don't think you can spend $150,000, you can more than welcome can write for any amount up to $150,000 that you think you can support and execute on your campus under the NOFO and under the mental health early action on campus law. So our grant period is January 1 to December 31st of 2025. So let's break this down. So within the NOFO and within statute, underserved is defined as students who have not had equitable access to services and have not received mental health support at your institution. This will be determined based on your data from your institution, the demographics that you serve, and who do not seek or receive services. So that's how we kind of define underserved, which is a little bit different from other definitions of underserved we've used in previous grants and in the past. So we're going to start with the objectives. The objectives of the grant are to support new, expanded, and enhanced services to meet the mental health needs of the students. These all fall under the Mental Health Act and are including screening and improving access to services. Applicants must select from at least one of the 4 objectives, and you all are welcome to do more than one, but you have to have at least one objective. And all of the activities should align with these goals. So we're going to go through the objectives really quick. So objective 1 is to develop and expand peer support programs. So institutions will focus on supports to develop, implement, enhance, or expand peer support programs on your campus. They may be housed within resident assistant programs, counseling centers, wellness centers on campus, and appropriate supervision by trained professionals of peer programming and students should be provided. And then you have, obviously you can do virtual, which I know a lot of you've done, but they must have appropriate vetting to ensure virtual services are utilizing best practices. So objective 2 is the continued development to expand your number of students served through your local partnerships to meet the statutory 1 to 1250 counselor to student ratio. So you'll focus on expanding services to students by implementing, enhancing, expanding local partnerships, both with public health organizations and private mental health practices. It should be full-time, part-time, or contractual partnerships. And campuses should be able to document the current status of counselor to student ratio and explain how the ratio was determined. Address the impact of expanded service to both lower the ratio and serve students through campus. Objective 3 is mental health services charting gaps in services with an emphasis on underserved. So remember, underserved is those on campus that may have not reached out. So based on your campus data, you'll identify students not currently being fully served and work to expand services to these groups through full-time staff, part-time staff, contractual, virtual, or other targeted services. All right, objective 4 is develop Medicaid and other reimbursement procedures for mental health services. So institutions will work with stakeholders to develop and implement policies, procedures, and processes related to Medicaid for mental health services to create a sustainable path to continued expansion and services. All right, so priority activities, detailed reporting, including institutional data on students served and services provided is to be provided by all funded institutions. Institution must choose at least one of the 4 objectives we just discussed. So you must include, when you write your NOFO and you include all of these, you must include your institutional data. So some examples of allowable grant activities. And like I said, this is not exhaustive, but these are just some examples that you can use. So training and professional development for staff, payment for peers engaged as peer supports, subscription costs for online peer support programs, and that includes the full amount. We know that you can get a discount if you pay, let's say, $2,500 up front for the next 5 years, whatever it may be. That includes that as well. So it doesn't have to be year by year. It can be a multi-year cost. Creating space for peer supports, peer groups to meet, pardon me. So this can be like comfy chairs or other materials to create a supportive environment for your students, your peers, and your staff. Contractual agreements with mental health providers for services not provided on campus. Outreach and events to introduce students to available resources. Establish services at college locations other than the main campus. These can be your satellite campuses. Outreach and events to target students. Training, professional development, or enrollment to submit Medicaid or other reimbursement requests. Collaboration with technical assistant providers or other stakeholders, and subscription payment for services to facilitate the means to submit reimbursement to Medicaid. We all know that that's kind of a newer area for individuals. So if there's support that you can pay for to help understand or to help develop and provide policy, feel free to pay for that. So we're going to go over the application package. So this should be what you submit to the ICCB when you're ready to, when you're done. So this is your package. This is not all encompassing. It's just kind of a high level overview. You'll find all of the other details in the NOFO package. So the fine print, all parts of the application must be completed by the deadline in order to be considered. Applicants should ensure that the elements are clearly addressed. You're encouraged to use headers to address all elements or some consistent form of response. That way it's easier for us to understand and to read through. Myself and a few other individuals will be reading these, and they're going to be quite detailed and lengthy. So any way that you can separate and highlight your areas will be much appreciated. You will receive a receipt of application. So whether it's from me, student services, or an admin, you will receive an email stating that it has been submitted. You will not be notified if you forget or if there's a piece missing in your application. It's a grant, it's competitive. So if you have something missing, you will not be notified about that, and you will not have a chance to resubmit. So if you're funded or not funded, you will receive notification by no later than December 1st of 2024. And the applications are due October 30th by midnight to the iccb.studentservices@illinois.gov email. Okay, so application format, you have your GATA exempt grant application, which is provided, your cover page, your abstract, your project narrative, your letters of commitment from external partners. So that could be your MOUs and any companies, contracts, consultants, anyone outside of the college. Those are from them, and then your uniform budget. All right, so your application narrative, this is kind of a deep dive. This is the main piece of your grant. So it should be submitted under this NOFO, should be organized, clear, and understandable. Like I said, please highlight your areas so we can distinguish between sections. That will help us when we read these. You must submit no more than 10 pages. You're allowed to use charts and graphs as part of the page limitation. Double-spaced, 12-point font that must include the following information or in order listed below, utilizing header of each and bolded narrative sections. So we'll go through those sections. So the basic project information, concise summary of the anticipated number of students to be served, populations to be served, provide a description of the targeted population of students to be served if applicable. For example, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, community specific regional consideration. So you must use data as evidence for their selection. So data is going to be key within this grant. So we need to see your statement of need. Institutional data should be provided to clearly identify need for additional mental health services. Tell us why you need this money, whether it's $25,000 or $150,000. So program justification, this statement should provide the data on potential student impact. Notice a pattern when it comes to the data piece. Fiscal need, the grant reviewer may not understand the specific financial needs of your institution. So you need to explain it to us. What's the financial need? Why should we fund you? And what will you do with this money? How will it impact? Regional context, provide a regionally specific context for services provided. A detailed description of the identified approach and measurable project goals and objectives and the overall indicator of performance. So identifying the anticipated number of students to be served, as well as other project goals, and describe how the institution is going to determine the success. If you guys are familiar with writing grants, you know that you need to have some sort of measurable goals to determine this. And describe any partnerships. Provide the number of partnerships and a brief description of their role that they're going to play with this project. And the letters from them detailing this must be included from all external partners. Gina, do you have anything to add up to this point?
I just wanted to clarify a couple of things, and there are a couple of folks have put this in the chat as well, but I want it to be verbalized on the webinar as well. The due date for the application is actually October 31st at 5 p.m. So probably no one's going to complain about getting an extra 12 or 15 hours there, but did want to clarify that. And then I also just wanted to go back very quickly to Mackenzie's discussion of being able to use these funds for a multi-year contract. And that is absolutely correct that you can do that, but it is really important that if that's something that you anticipate doing, that you are already thinking about the fact that that will need to be ordered by the end of the grant time in December and then paid for by kind of the date that the funds must be expended, which is not until February 28th of 2026. So it right now feels like a long way away, but those dates kind of sneak up on us. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that you can do that, but that it is very important that following kind of those spending guidelines are still in the back of your mind.
Thank you. Yes, clearly I don't know how many days are in the month of October. So there's that. Like I said, island time, I'm still there. All right, moving on. So the work plan. So this is kind of a big beefy piece of your narrative. So this needs to clearly describe the project activities associated and your timelines for each activity to be carried out during the grant period. The person responsible for the activity should clearly relate to the goals of the grant. A charter table is encouraged. This makes it easier for you to keep it organized, and it's easier for us to see who's responsible, the timeline, and where what kind of goal you're going back to. Please note that your work plan may change during the grant as a result of technical assistance that's provided by either us, ICSPS, or the Illinois Campus Cares Technical Assistance Center and other partners. Within the work plan, applications should address how they will carry out the following activities: build mental health service capacity, and all other activities carried out under the grant to support your project goals. Programs developed and expanded include the anticipated number of students to be served with new or expanded programs. You need to have a description of the impact the project will have on the students, the community, and the institution. You need to have a description of the applicant's capacity and experience. Description of the applicant's capacity to execute the project, including a description of previous experience in implementing successful grant programs of a similar nature and related activities such as wraparound services for target populations. We want to know how you plan to scale and replicate. So describe how the project could be scaled or replicated by others in the state. All the resources and products developed by the grant funds will be provided from the grantee to the ICCB to share with the field. What are you doing and what can we share as a best practice or an up and coming, I don't know, project, I guess you could say, but what can we share out with the field to help them get from point A to point B? And what's your contingency plan? Description of a plan and budget in the event that the program must change and funds are not able to be spent as defined in the original narrative budget. For example, unsuccessful hiring of staff or peer support programming. Applicants should think of critically about this section. So in the event that you allocate $155,000 and you can't get somebody hired like you originally planned, it's helpful to have a substantial starting place when trying to determine how to change course. But if that's the case, no more than one page. All right, so here's some deliverables. We're moving kind of fast. I will, contrary to what I said, I will open up for a few questions. So some deliverables. So carry out deliverables of the proposed scope of work encompassing all required activities for the selected objectives. Work to meet or exceed all the identified indicators of performance. And you need to submit a fiscal and a programmatic quarterly report to student services email and the ICCB grants payment email with due dates are in the chart below. You guys have access to that. Just kind of reiterating it. You'll be participating in any required professional development, technical assistance, or learning workshops. Like in the previous slide, we discussed us, ICSPS, and the TAC will be providing technical assistance. So anyone that is awarded this grant will be required to participate in those professional developments. And the fixed amount award means a type of grant agreement providing a specific level of support without regard to actual costs incurred under the award. Dina, do you have anything to add to this slide?
No,
I know I'm moving kind of fast.
No, I don't have anything for the deliverables.
All right. Well, that was pretty quick. I can go back to slides if it was kind of a blur for individuals, but I think I just wanted to highlight the importance of reading through the entire NOFO packet, using that as a checklist to make sure that you have all items submitted and gathered when you submit the grant to us, and making sure that, like I said, at least one of those objectives has to be highlighted and focused on within your grant, but you can do more than one. So I will end it, and then I will, since we are ahead of schedule because I talk really fast. Okay, so even though I kind of
have a couple of questions in the chat.
Do we? Okay.
Yes, we do. I wasn't scrolling down, so I didn't see them until just this moment. So when they ask, do you anticipate travel for the professional development? And Janet, I assume that you are talking about the professional development to be provided through the ICC TAC or through the ICSPS. And yes, I would anticipate that the majority of that will be virtual. There may be some opportunity for in-person, obviously, if that was something you wanted to do, you could, but as long as you're participating in some facet of those professional development opportunities, I don't think there's the expectation that you would do everything, right? Because schedules just won't allow you to work your schedule around every single thing we might offer, but there will be plenty of virtual opportunities for you to engage with. And I did also, for those of you who were looking at the screen going questions, and then there was a blank white screen, it should have had Mackenzie's email in it. It shows it on our end, but for the rest of you, it did not. So I put Mackenzie's email in the chat as well, that you can reach out to her.
Oh, I apologize for that.
No, you know, technology is always fun. We also had the question, Anissa wanted to clarify that they understand that we have to address one of the 4 objectives with all of the required activities, but do we need to speak to all 4 objectives in any way? And you do not. You only have to speak to the objectives that you plan to address.
Yep.
And then Shannon also asked, and this is a question that we've been seeing come in a little bit in different ways, can our project for this grant build upon what we're going to propose in our non-competitive grant work plan? Yeah, they are separate pots of, you know, funds, but certainly if there's something that you're doing with the non-competitive work, but you think you're able to expand it, enhance it, and maybe push those services to those underrepresented or underserved students, then you can certainly, you know, they can complement one another, and they both are going to complement the expectations of the Mental Health Early Action on Campus Act. So certainly they may complement one another as well. So I think, now that I realized I wasn't scrolling through the chat, that I did get all of the questions. But if there are other questions, feel free to pop those in as well. And the answers to these questions, as well as others that we've been getting over the last few days in email, will be put into an FAQ document, which will be posted on our grants opportunity page. So then we have another question. Do you primarily want counseling, mental health related data from the institution and underserved populations, or do you want institution-wide underserved populations? And Brooke, if I'm misunderstanding this, please jump back in and correct me. But I think what I understand this question to mean is, do we want to know just those folks who are not being served by your mental health or your counseling or your mental health related work that you're doing? If that is what you're asking, then yes, that is exactly the data that we want. Not necessarily if your institution itself, you know, is not serving a particular demographic in terms of enrollment. That is going to be part of some other plans, probably some equity planning, but that's not what we're looking for here. Here we're looking specific to who is not seeking mental health related work, mental health related supports, and that is going to be very unique to each campus. And we had another question. We have a question about programmatic risk assessment form for this grant, whether or not it needs to be submitted. And I'm so glad to see Marcus on this screen, because
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I'm gonna ask him to be the final voice on this.
No, you do not need to submit it, at least with the initial application. If we were to need to swing back and gather that, we would do that post award, I think, but at least part of the submission, no.
Great. Glad to have that from the top as the answer. So I'd hate to tell you no and then be wrong.
Oh, right. And I think the last question I saw, do you have a recommendation on the number of letters of support we should obtain from our community partners? Oh, wait, go ahead, Dana.
No, I was reading them to myself.
Oh, you're fine. It would be your letters of support would need for any and all. So if you have 5 community partners, you would need 5 letters of recommendation to go along with your plan. Marcus, do you have anything to add? Oh,
We had one more
Oh,
question pop
They're
in.
coming
so-
in, sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
you're
need to
fine.
expand my screen.
So I'll read it out as well. For objective 4, are only Medicaid reimbursements allowed, or could private insurance be billed as well? That would be, again, that'll be your individual choice. We are starting kind of with the Medicaid focus, but certainly if you wanted to expand that to look into how you could bill privately as well, that would certainly be part of what you could do. And I think a great way to really consider how you can continue to provide services at the level that is needed and continue to expand those services as well.
Yeah, correct. These are just kind of, I don't want to say minimum requirements, but like Dina said, if your institution has a plan to build private insurance, pick objective 4, discuss how you're going to make that a partnership, discuss how you're going to work on billing Medicaid and throw in the private insurance piece. Like I said, these objectives are kind of the main minimal standard within the act. But feel free, if you are going above and beyond, put it in there.
I just want to take a quick moment to clarify, you can't do private insurance and not Medicaid. You'd have to do Medicaid minimally, but you could also do private insurance as part of the expansion.
Thank you. Yes. Right. I think we have all the questions in the chat. I know I kind of breezed through that. It was a kind of, like I said, a high level overview. You have the NOFO packet. Use it as a checklist, go through it. I will be the grant lead. Yay. But if you have any questions, especially specific to your institution, or just you're having a moment that you can't remember, which I do on a regular basis, just shoot me an email. I'd be more than happy to hop on a call or email just to make sure that you get everything submitted and go from there. Marcus, Dina, you guys have anything to add?
No, it's everything.
Hopefully this was quick and painless. And good luck on your submissions. And this will be recorded and sent out. Again, I don't remember if I said that.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
See you, everybody.